welcome to Just Talk Funerals with me, Jason Threadgold.
And me, Nichola Threadgold.
Just Talk Funerals is all about the funeral industry, the people that work alongside us, and an insight into what we do.
We will have some special guests along the way, sharing their experiences and how their professions overlap with what we do.
So get yourselves comfy, grab yourselves a cuppa, and let's get into today's episode of
Just Talk Funerals.
Hello and welcome to our next episode of Just Talk Funerals, and today we've got a special guest with us. So this gentleman we've got with us today, he's been through our journey with us for the last 11 years, the highs, the lows, the vulnerability, and he's worked alongside us as a celebrant for many, many years. So over to you, Graham, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you. First of all, thanks for letting me do this today.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. My name is Graham Wallace. I am a funeral celebrant, and as you said, we've worked together since, 11 years now?
Yeah.
Since you started on your journey, and certainly on my journey. And, we have a good relationship, and I've always enjoyed working with you. Not sure what else you want me to say about.
No, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, that's great, Graham. And I remember actually the first day you walked into our premises. Can you?
I can.
Yeah.
In the premises just up the road.
Yeah.
Very small.
Yep.
A little settee.
Yeah.
I sat on there. I came in. We had a cosy chat.
We did.
And it was from that really things have developed, and we've both, on both sides, cautiously, walked along that path together. Yeah. And over time, it's grown. And it's fantastic to see you growing as a business, but also the support you've given me over the years and given me the opportunity to do what I do. Yeah. So that was lovely.
Yeah, thank you. Now, I think it would be really interesting for you to tell the viewers what you used to do, because you've not always been a celebrant, have you?
No. Well, it's a long story, but I'll edit it down. I started off originally working on Liverpool Market as a boy, and it came to a time when that job came to an end. Yeah. And I was with my mate who we worked together. What are we going to do? And so we joined the army. Yeah. And I spent 10 years in the army, travelled all over the world in the Grenadier Guards. They must have been desperate in the 70s because Grenadier Guards are quite tall. I'm 5'8", but I got in. As I say, they must have been desperate. So, and then the reason I went into the army is down to Winston Churchill, because back in 1965, when I was 8, I watched his funeral on the black and white TV, and I was fascinated by two things. One is the fact that it was the first time that I realised that when you die, you go in, you're placed in a coffin, and that came home to me as an 8-year-old. And the other thing I was fascinated about was the soldiers with their bearskins. Yeah. So after that's the reason why I joined the army. I wanted to be a grenadier, and I did. And then I met my wife, and she said, "There's no way I'm going round the world with you and possibly children." So I came out and I approached a private funeral business, and lo and behold, they took me on. And I was in at the deep end. I managed an office in Kilburn, and I hadn't a clue what I was doing, but I was self-taught, and I progressed for 6 years with them. Yeah. That I eventually left there. We moved further north to Milton Keynes, and I ran a private business there that was eventually taken into the co-op. And I've worked for co-ops and other firms, private firms, up and down the country. And then my last appointment was area manager for an area called South Midlands with Anglia Co-op. And that came to an end, and I thought, what am I going to do? But at that point, I was on the training team for Celebrants, and my job was to go in and talk about the funeral business.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'll do this. So I did the course, and then the rest, as they say, is history. And I've been doing this for 11 years.
Yeah, but very interesting, isn't it, that you can see both sides?
It helps enormously because although I try very hard not to tell your clients what to do and where to go, I will answer the question with saying it is normal for that, but you need to speak with the funeral director. But it is helpful for me to understand how things work. And I can understand when things get tight, and the issues and the problems that are going on below the surface, and I understand that perfectly.
Do you think a lot has changed since you were funeral director back in the day to where we are now, or do you think most things are the same?
On the funeral side, enormously. Going back to the very early 80s, when I was in the funeral business in London, massively different. There was very little legislation. I can remember an instance where I was dispatched to a crematorium to pick up some cremated remains for want of a better word, Mrs. Jones. And I arrived and I said, I'll come for Mrs. Jones's ashes. And the answer I got was, oh, just a second. And the chap went over to the corner and scooped some ashes up into a container and said, there you go.
Wow.
Literally. And the premises itself didn't have any extraction, so it was very unhealthy. There was nothing of today's standards at all. And things have changed now where things are regulated. They're very safe. You can track everything you do, and that's very open now. Everything in those days was done behind the scenes. It wasn't. The general public had no idea at all what was happening. They just got the end product, so to speak. But nowadays, everything is open. You can come and have a look. And
I think that's great, isn't it? It's about transparency, isn't it? And
it is. And you're dealing with people at a very low ebb in their lives, and their brains are different. People's brains are different at times of grief, and they don't need to be bombarded with things. They need to understand and carried and taken through. And that's enormously important.
So I guess your sort of time funeral directing has definitely helped you now come into this role of celebrancy, and over the years how you've become a very well known celebrant in this area. I know you've conducted a lot of funerals here. So how do you support those families that are meeting you for the first time? Because they don't know you and you don't know them. It must be, to start that relationship, and it has to be a relationship again, doesn't it? With your celebrant.
Well, I never just turn up on the door and say who I am. There's a phone call first of all. Before that phone call is made, I have a lot of information that's passed to me by funeral directors like yourselves, the basic details and any added information. So it helps me to understand the situation that I'm going to go into. During the phone call, I explain to them who I am, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to help them, and where I'm going to meet them. And then give them my number and make sure they understand they can phone me at any time, should they need to. And I always say to people, if I don't pick up, leave a message, because I always return messages. And then when I go to see the family, at least I know who I'm going to see. And when I go in, I always find out who the family are. There may be only one person there, but generally there's 3 or 4 of the family. And it is about trying to put them at ease, because before I go, they're thinking, oh, what's going to happen? Who is he? You know, and there's a fear, you know, and I have to settle that down. And most people, you can see it, they just relax. There are people, of course, that want a more business-like approach, which is fine, you know. So I have to sort of adapt to every situation and you know, with whatever families want, you know. And there can be a lot of humour, you know. Death is terrible, you know, and it does. It's a time where, for me, using humour cuts through it, because I always say to people, yes, your dad, say, lived for 85, 90 years, and the fact that he's died is a massive event in your lives. But in terms of your dad, it is that's how much it's about him. The rest is about life. You know, and that's what we're trying to do. And gathering information to paint a picture, tell a story, you know, on the day.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
So you've sort of alluded there to the fact that most people kind of get the impression that a funeral is sort of circulating around sadness. But how do you kind of look at it so you understand a much deeper purpose? So for you, not necessarily for the families, but how you deal with that.
Are you talking in terms of how it affects me?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Well, I've seen a lot of take the what I do now out of the equation. In my military life, I've seen a lot of death and anguish. I've dealt with thousands in my funeral years, thousands of people who have lost loved ones in all manner of situations. So I always say to people, I don't have a swinging brick here.
No.
I've lost close family members of my own, so I know what grief is, and I know how that feels. But I think over time, I have learnt to concentrate on what's important for that family, you know, and to offer them a way or a means to get through what they're going through, in terms of telling that story, and building that rapport with them, and offering them things that they wouldn't have dreamed of thinking about, because we've come an awful long way in terms of what we can offer, you know, than just standing up and just saying a few words, you know, make it more personalised.
Is there one thing you could think that you wish families knew about a funeral service before they actually need one?
One thing.
I'm sure there's loads, but one. Anything specific you think they should know or kind of would need to know before they actually have to get to the point of having a funeral?
Well, I think it'd be nice if people knew that they, to a large extent, are in the driving seat. They need to know that they can have access to a wider range of options than they perhaps narrowly think. You know, years ago, you know, you would get a one-size-fits-all coffin. You know, this coffin's for you. You can have that, or you can have that. It was either burial or cremation. The options now are so wide and varied, and it offers the chance for people to explore different things. You know, I don't know, an example would be that a colourful coffin with Liverpool. There are other teams, Liverpool on the side of it, or horse racing, that sort of thing, you know. So I think it's education, and there are sort of pre-planned funeral arrangements, that people can take up, but they need to be aware of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
so let's talk about grief. Because when obviously you go and meet with these families and you see them maybe for the first time, a lot of these families, there's sheer raw emotion, isn't there? There must be that numbness, that sadness. What is it that's so important that you can offer them from the start?
I think I can offer people, as a celebrant, offer people the experience that I have of meeting other families over the years, and what can and can't be done. Some families are so distraught that it's difficult for them to get beyond even answering one question. A lot of people don't have the information that I would need to put together a story for them. And it can be something simple like a lot of people don't even know their grandparents' names. They just know it's Nan, Granddad, Grandma, or whatever. But by the end of the talk, the time I've been with people, by the end, the comment I often get is, I never knew I knew so much.
Yeah.
I never knew that. Where did that come from? And it for me, my job, I think, is about opening boxes in people's minds that have been locked for years. And the other thing I see with people is they're not ashamed, but they're upset that they didn't know that until somebody like me came along and explored it. And I say to people, you've got no reason to reproach yourself.
No.
You're in a situation at the moment, that your mind is so full of grief.
Yeah.
You don't even want me here. You don't want the funeral director there. You don't want any of this.
Yeah.
But it's comforting for them at the end. To know that they were able to do that.
And I think that's really important. And we've had families where, we've talked around, okay, so the officiant or the celebrant will come and see you. And there's that look of sort of fear around, well, what am I going to say to them? One, it's a stranger. And it's like, well, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to say. I don't know a lot. Well, actually, for me, there's been times when I've just said, just listen to your celebrant, because they will be able to extract information out of you and you won't even realise because of the questions, I guess, that you're asking.
Yeah. But I think it's the start of the conversation is for me not to jump straight in and try and get all this information. It's about just having a chat. Tell me what your dad was like, what your mum was like, what sort of music, that sort of thing. And we do all that before I even get into where somebody was born, about the family. So it just sets people at ease a bit. There are occasions where it's impossible because they're so distraught that they say, I just can't do this anymore. Fine, we'll come back. We'll sort it another day when you're ready.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So obviously you had your training to be a celebrant.
Yeah.
You went through all of that. So what do you feel that you've learned over time that you maybe didn't get from your training?
Oh, what have I learned? Yeah. The training gives you all the basic tools. What it doesn't give you is the people skills. And the knowledge about different kinds of people. There are people who are very, very quiet, very meek and mild. There are people who are very businesslike. There are people that well educated and know exactly what they want, and that's fine. So it's about it's about, for me as a celebrant, being able to go to these different levels, and speak to people on a level that they understand. You know, the training you have tells you about it, but you cannot do better than experiencing it. And to begin with, any celebrant, if they're honest, will tell you it's nerve-wracking. It really is, because you're out of your comfort zone and you're doing something that is not natural to you. It's something you have to learn, and you learn very quickly.
Yeah.
You know.
And I guess in a lot of times you're in their homes.
Yeah.
You know, and if there's 3 or 4 of them, you're on your own, aren't you? I guess you know that can be a bit scary.
Well, it is, and you know, especially if there's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
I can remember just going back to my funeral days. I went out to see a family, and there was 6 sons, and they're all over 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
And they stood as near as we are, in front of me, with their arms folded much, and I was right, you know. So you have to deal with that sort of thing. But I have to say, in the 11 years that I can count on one finger, never mind one hand, the number of times I've been worried.
Yeah.
You know, because most families are just nice. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about how you sort of get stories from people. How can you kind of build up the contents for a funeral service when people are really struggling to get them words out? Is there any way you can kind of encourage people to start talking when there's people that are really holding back from you?
Yeah, I use a lot of my own experience with that, because wherever you go, if you get 10 families in of an age group, say my age group, what I did as a kid will be very similar to what everyone else does. We all jumped on a bus for a trip with the works out into the seaside. We all had fish and chips. We all went on. So very, very often people relax when they see me and they go, "Oh, he's done that. Oh, he knows that." You know, so you sort of build it up as you go along, you know. And I use a lot of my own experience and I often, you know, offer 1 or 2 anecdotes of my time, and it gives people time to reflect on that and think, oh yeah, well, and that box will open, and it moves on. But I generally work in a chronological order. You know, from when somebody was born, what was life like when they were born. If it's somebody in their late 80s, early 90s, you know, it's the war experience and that. So I generally know what the stories are going to be. The only thing that changes really is the characters and the anecdotes, but the general theme is there. You know.
Do you kind of find that some of the smaller elements that are brought into a service as well, like music or some of them anecdotes, kind of have a lot of big meaning to some people, whereas you think the eulogy is the one where you're the storytelling, but then incorporating some of the smaller elements have an awful lot more meaning as well?
Yeah, music is a big thing. Music evokes memories and their attachments to not only the person who's died, but also the family that is left behind. There might be that's the song mum and dad danced to, their first dance at their wedding. That was the music that was playing when the first granddaughter was born. You know, so you've got to. You don't pick music for music's sake. You know. It has to resonate, you know, with people. And it's the same with poetry. I often say to people, you know, it's okay, we can wander lonely on a cloud and pick daffodils, if you like, but is Wordsworth right for you? You know, they go, no, well, what is right for you? And I use poetry. I never force poetry onto people. I explain certain poems if they can't choose a poem for themselves, and how that poem relates to the person that's died. For instance, if somebody says, "Oh, Mum would never want any fuss at all," absolutely no fuss whatsoever. So you pick shorter poems that express that. George Grenfell is one that I use a lot. If I should go before the rest of you, and that poem is about not making any fuss. Just keep it simple, and it's quite a contrast, because that poem by George Grenfell, a lady from aristocracy, very well heeled, but so down to earth, and she wrote that about her own mortality. So that fits for them. Other poems might fit poems about mothers and fathers and sons and daughters. So you sort of select them and offer them, and they go, oh yeah, or not.
Fits.
Yeah.
Very good. So obviously, as you're aware, over the years, the funeral industry, it's been, and death and dying has been a very taboo subject for a lot of people. People don't want to talk about it. But I think over the years, we get into a point where more people are starting to talk about it. But why do you think people avoid talking about, either their own demise or somebody close to them?
I think it's very human, isn't it? Because when you're young and fit and healthy, you're going to live forever.
Yeah.
The death happens to older people in hospitals and homes, and they don't see it.
Yeah.
Many years ago, everybody saw death because it happened in the home. Families stayed together, so it was very accepted years ago. And we've taken that away. We've got hospitals, we've got hospices. That's not a negative. It's just a consequence that it's away from the family. So people don't think about that. What was the rest of it?
Just understanding why maybe people don't talk about, death and dying as much.
Yeah. There is a fear, isn't there?
Yeah.
There is a fear that if you talk about it, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But the hard fact of life is it is going to happen. The only thing that you can hope for is that it happens at the end of a long life. And I think part of the fear is the mode, how that death is going to occur. Is there going to be pain? Is going to be this or that? So I think fear is probably the big. But I think things have changed because you now have more access to advertising. You would never see years ago the adverts from funeral homes being open and honest as they are now. Was very taboo years ago, but it's out there. And of course, you've got social media, you've got as I say, advertising and that. So there's more access and more information for people. And I think younger people are starting to recognise that this is going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think even just things like podcasts.
Yeah.
We're trying to educate people, aren't we, on what goes on?
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay. So obviously you'll go and meet with a family. Do you find in more cases that people have expressed their wishes, or are you still finding this day and age that families come together and they don't know what a loved one's wishes are?
I absolutely love it when I go into a family and I say, right, I start taking that, and they go, no, it's okay, we've done it.
Wow.
Or Mum's done it, or Dad's done it, and they hand me a complete eulogy.
Yeah.
And I think I always say to people, I'm not a lazy person. I'm quite happy to take notes and write something up. Yeah. But when your mum or your dad has gone to the trouble of doing this, how nice.
Yeah.
How thoughtful.
Yeah. And it's in their words.
Yeah. And it's great. So I love that. Absolutely love that. but the majority, of course, no. It's a case of gathering that information and putting something together for them. And what I've always done is when I've put together the funeral tribute, I always send it to the family. And having the internet now and emails, it's so much easier than putting it in the post or getting in the car and taking it around. And that gives the family the opportunity to correct any errors. And I always say, I'm only human. You've lived and breathed Mum and Dad for as long as you've been alive, so you know them intimately. I don't. You know. So for them to have the opportunity to vet that document and change anything they want. And I always say to people, if you get it and you read a paragraph and you think, oh, God, Graham's gone overboard here, you can pare it back. And if you think, oh, Graham's undersold this, you can embellish it. Or if you think it's a load of rubbish, get rid of it. Because on the day when we come out of the crematorium or away from the graveside and people who attend the congregation come via me and say, oh, that was wonderful.
What a lovely feel.
Yeah, it's great. But it will only happen if we work as a team. That's me and the family. And that's a great thing to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you see all this death and how people suffer with the sort of aftermath of death. How's that changed your life? How you deal with things in day-to-day life? Does it make you live your life any differently?
Oh, definitely. Because I've been around funerals for many years. It's I don't know. I think my sister is she would always say to me, "Oh, it's all right for you, Graham. You've done this for years, so you can do all this without being upset." I'm thinking about my parents' funerals, my brother's funeral. Yes, I can. And
it's very different.
From the outside, it looks as though that I am, not being affected by that, but I am. But it's doing what I do. It's enabled me to slightly step aside to enable me to do what I have to do. So it's given me that too. But I always say to people, when for instance, if people entrust their loved one to Jason Threadgold's funerals, they're not only entrusting that person that's died, they're entrusting the family. And for me, it's about the living. Funerals are more about the living than the person has died. There's obviously a part of that for the deceased and the respect and giving them, saying goodbye to them in the way you want to. But for me, it is all about the living, because the person who's died doesn't have an issue, doesn't have a problem, not at all. You have to concentrate, or I do, have to concentrate on the living to give them what they want to get through that.
Is there any elements of any particular funerals that have stuck with you long after you've actually conducted that funeral? Any memories?
Are you talking about as a celebrant or as a funeral director?
Either or. I mean, it could be anything, something quirky that happened, something that maybe wasn't expected to happen, anything like that.
Well, many years ago, as a funeral director in Stony, Stratford, that's the Milton Keynes, I did a funeral for a Chinese family, and we were ready to go, and we were going to walk the entire length of the high street and up the London Road to the cemetery. And I met the family, and they came out with a pig, a cooked pig on a tray, and I had to carry this cooked pig all the way up the high street, along the London Road, and to the cemetery. And I thought that was quite quirky, different, There was, as a celebrant, I did a funeral for an actress. I won't say who it was, but she was quite well known.
Yeah.
And we got to the crematorium, and there, at this crematorium, you pull the cord for the curtains to close. So I went over and said my words of committal and goodbye, and pulled the cord. And then, at the appropriate time, we opened the curtains again, and everybody clapped. And then we closed the curtains again, and then we opened them, and everybody clapped. So it was like the curtain call at the end of a performance, and I thought that was brilliant. Another one was a chap that was absolutely fascinated with sci-fi, and he was a big fan of the Star Trek franchise, and we had to put in the sound of the doors. I don't know if you ever watched it.
Really?
You know, and the sound of when they beam me up, Scotty, and all that, and we put all that in, and that was just great.
Yeah, they are.
And I think for me, you know, if we were in a more formal setting, a church service or something like that, and nothing against churches at all, you don't have that scope, but we do.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really a happy day.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's a couple of great memories.
Yeah.
One thing we're always sort of concerned about when we talk to anybody in this field is how they look after themselves emotionally in the role that they do. How do you go about making sure that your welfare is looked after when you're taking on so much emotion from other people?
It's nice to have family that you can talk to, and if you don't have family, then you look elsewhere. And I think I have great support from other celebrants, and you can talk to each other because you understand each other so well. Excuse me. But also support from funeral directors. I often get calls. I may have been called 3 times in a day, you know, or many times in a week. And it's nice when the funeral director says, "Are you all right to do this one? Are you all right to go and see this family?"
Yeah.
And the what's behind that question is they know how busy I am. And it's nice that somebody out there, you know, in the funeral business are checking in to do that. But I have to discipline myself because I can go into my little office at home and I can sit down and it will be 4 hours before I get out of that chair. So I've learned, you know, to get up, walk about, have a coffee, put the radio on, and then go back to it.
Yeah.
And I shut the door so I can't. That's separated from the home.
Yeah.
You know, I've got my dogs. You know, we go out for a walk with the dogs. I've got my 2 boys. They're growing up with their own families. You know, I can sort of talk to them, and you know, you have to learn to be able to do that. You know, initially you're just, I mean, gone midnight. Most nights, those days have gone for me. I don't do that anymore. Not being able to sleep, you're going through your head what you're going to do, what you're going to say, how you're going to fit it together. You learn, you know, not to do that, you know, and you have to just discipline yourself. Yeah, but as I say, it's nice that there are people in the industry, both yours and mine, that understand. And you can talk to them. I read. That's great.
Yeah.
Get away from it.
Yeah.
Read.
Excellent. Okay. So if somebody's listening today, Graham, and they're facing a loss right now, what would you want to say to them?
Take a breath. Don't let yourself, your head be filled with all the questions, and you're looking for the answers. The answers you will get by talking to the right people.
Yeah.
And any celebrant that is going to look after you, worth their salt, will understand exactly what you're going through. Invariably, they will have gone through it themselves, such as I have. And I understand there's no rush. There's no time scale that you need to work to, and allow people in the funeral industry and the celebrants to carry you and look after you, and it will be fine. It will be fine. I've never had a funeral that has not turned out how I and the family have wanted it to, and you just got to allow yourself to be carried through that period of time, I think.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you.
I think that's about it for today, Graham. Really appreciate you coming and having a chat with us. So for everyone listening and watching, we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Just Talk Funerals.
We really care about what you think. We'd love your feedback on the subjects raised today, or maybe you have a question you would like us to talk about in a future episode. You can contact us by emailing podcast@threadgoldfunerals.com.
If you'd like to know more about what we do and the services we offer, then please head to jasonthreadgoldfuneraldirector.com. Thank you for joining us today, and see you next time.